let's talk about a country that, by all modern logic, just shouldn't exist. It's tucked away high up in the Pyrenees Mountains, right between France and Spain, and it's a place just full of contradictions. A kind of medieval relic that somehow became this incredible 21st century success story. Today, we're going to try and unwrap the puzzle that is Andorra. So here's the big question we're tackling today. How can a nation that's literally ruled by the president of France and a Spanish bishop, a country with no army of its own and not even an airport, how on earth does it manage to be one of the wealthiest places on the planet? It just doesn't seem possible, but that's what we're here to figure out. All right, so first up, let's really dig into what makes Andorra such a paradox. It's a place where the ancient and the modern collide in some truly unexpected ways. I mean, on almost every level, Andorra just defies logic. Think about it. Its government, run by two foreigners, has been rock solid for over 700 years. It's one of the safest countries in the world, but it has no army. Its native-born citizens are actually a minority, yet the society is incredibly harmonious. And its rugged, isolated terrain, which you'd think would be a huge economic disadvantage, has somehow become the very foundation of its wealth. It's wild. And really, to get your head around any of this, you have to start with the land itself. Andorra's geography isn't just some scenic backdrop, it is the single most important piece of the puzzle in its unique story. Just to give you a sense of scale, the entire country is only about half the size of New York City. It's completely landlocked, and get this, it's dominated by over 65 mountain peaks. Its capital, Andorra la Vella, is the highest in all of Europe. This is not a place you just stumble upon. It's like a natural fortress built by the mountains themselves. And think about what that geography really means for daily life. No airport, no train stations, obviously no navy. For centuries, that isolation was its greatest defense. Today, it means Andorra is one of the only countries left in the world you can only get to by car. In that very location, being squished between France and Spain gave birth to maybe the strangest political setup on the entire planet. This is the story of how Andorra became the world's only co-principality. Yeah, there's actually a word for this system. It's called a diarchy, a government with two joint heads of state. It is an incredibly rare way to run a country, and Andorra is by far its most famous and long-lasting example. So who are these two rulers? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. On one side, you have the Bishop of Urgell in Spain, representing centuries of religious tradition. And on the other, the sitting president of France. That's right, the current president of France, Emmanuel Macron, is technically a prince. This bizarre setup has been the secret sauce to balancing the influence of its two giant neighbors.
This whole system goes way, way back. The key moment was in 1278 with a treaty called the Parishes. It was basically a peace treaty to stop France and Spain from just, gobbling up Andorra for themselves. And this medieval power-sharing deal stayed in place for over 700 years, right up until 1993, when a new constitution finally modernized everything and officially made Andorra the democracy it is today.
Okay, but maybe the most mind-bending paradox of all has to do with the people who actually live there. Because Andorra's economic boom created a demographic twist that you just don't see almost anywhere else in the world. This is absolutely wild. Get this. Native Andorrans, the people with full citizenship, are a minority in their own country. At just over 32%, they are literally outnumbered by residents from Spain. The vast majority of people who live and work in Andorra aren't actually Andorran citizens. And you can totally see this mix in the languages you hear on the street. Now, Catalan is the official language. It's the only country in the world where that's the case, but Spanish is spoken almost just as widely. And that large Portuguese-speaking community, it's a direct result of the huge waves of immigration that helped build modern Andorra. So the big question is, how did this tiny, isolated mountain valley with its bizarre politics and a population of newcomers get so incredibly rich? Well, this is the story of the Andorran dream, a pretty incredible transformation from pastoralism to prosperity. Well, the evolution was surprisingly straightforward. For hundreds of years, Andorra was a poor, rural society. Farming, livestock, that sort of thing. But in the 20th century, it figured out it had two golden tickets: snow and low taxes. That combination sparked a massive tourist boom, which transformed it into a modern service economy powered by skis, shopping, and banks. And when we say powered by tourism, we are not kidding. A staggering 80% of the country's entire GDP, it's all generated by the tourism sector. Its economic health is almost completely tied to its ability to bring in visitors.
So just how big is this industry? We are talking about 8 million visitors every single year. And to really let that number sink in, you have to compare it to who actually lives there. The country has fewer than 90,000 residents. So that flood of 8 million visitors, it works out to about 90 tourists for every single resident every year. Just wow. That is what fuels the entire Andorran economy. Okay, so after centuries of stability and decades of absolutely explosive growth, the world is changing, right? So you have to wonder, can this unique model, this Andorran paradox, actually last in the 21st century? And the challenges are very real. You've got international pressure forcing it to change its tax haven status. You've got climate change, which is a direct threat to the snow its ski resorts desperately need. It has to constantly navigate its relationship with the European Union, all while trying to hold on to its unique Catalan culture in a country of immigrants.
So that brings us to the final question, doesn't it? For over 700 years, being isolated and, well, a little bit weird was Andorra's superpower. But now, in our world of hyperconnectivity and giant global unions, can this medieval mountain paradox possibly survive? It's a fascinating question, and only time will tell.